Today, we will look back at two stories we have read to compare their characters and their theme. Our focus for reading is to compare and contrast two texts based on their characters and their theme. We will be using this graphic organizer to help us organize our thinking for today's lesson. If you notice, we will be focusing on two categories to compare our stories. The first category are the characters. We have the gnat and the lion, and then we have Snow White and the Queen in Snow White Meets the Huntsman. We'll also be looking at the theme towards the end of this lesson. As you re-listen to this fable, I really want you to focus on how you would describe the lion and how you would describe the gnat. All of those words and your thinking will be included on the next slide to include in our graphic organizer. Follow along as I read our first fable, The Gnat and the Lion, by Aesop. "Away with you, vile insect," said a lion angrily to a gnat that buzzed around its head. But the gnat was not in the least disturbed. "Do you think," he said spitefully to the lion, "that I am afraid of you because they call you king?" The next instant, the gnat flew at the lion and stung him sharply on the nose. This made the lion mad with rage, and so he struck fiercely at the gnat. But the lion only succeeded in tearing himself with his claws. Again and again, the gnat stung the lion. The lion was now roaring terribly. At last, worn out from their battle and covered with wounds that his own teeth and claws had made, the defeated lion gave up the fight. The proud gnat buzzed away to tell the whole world about his victory. But instead he flew straight into a spider's web. And there he who had defeated the king of beasts came to a miserable end, the prey of a little spider. Moral: pride goes before a fall. Now that you've listened to the story, I would like you to include one or two words that you would use to describe the gnat. Notice how I included some words that I thought of to describe the lion. If you had any different words that you thought of to describe the lion, feel free to include them in this chart. Now let's listen to our story, Snow White Meets the Huntsman. Again, I would like you to focus on how you would describe Snow White and how you would describe the Queen. Those words and phrases will then be included in our graphic organizer. Follow along as I read the first half of our fairy tale, Snow White Meets the Huntsman, an excerpt from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, in midwinter, when the snowflakes were falling like feathers from heaven, a queen sat sewing at her window. The window had a frame of black ebony wood. As she sewed, she looked up at the snow and pricked her finger with her needle. 3 drops of blood fell into the snow. The red on the white looked so beautiful that she thought to herself, if only I had a child as white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as the wood in this frame. Soon afterward, the queen had a little daughter who was as white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as ebony wood. Therefore they called her Little Snow White. Sadly, as soon as the child was born, the queen died. A year later, the king took himself another wife. She was a beautiful woman, but she was proud and arrogant. She could not stand it if anyone might surpass her in beauty. This queen had a magic mirror. Every morning she stood before it, looked at herself, and said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is fairest of all?" To this the mirror answered, "You, my queen, are fairest of all." Then she was satisfied, for she knew that the mirror spoke the truth. Snow White grew up and became ever more beautiful. When she was 7 years old, she was as beautiful as the light of day, even more beautiful than the queen herself. One day, when the queen asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is fairest of all?" it answered, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you." The queen took fright and turned yellow and green with envy. From that hour on, whenever she looked at Snow White, her heart turned over inside her body. So great was her hatred for the girl. The envy and pride grew even greater, like a weed in her heart, until she had no peace day and night. Then she summoned a huntsman and said to him, "Take Snow White out into the woods. I never want to see her again. Kill her, and as proof that she is dead, bring her lungs and her liver back to me." The huntsman obeyed and took Snow White into the woods. He took out his hunting knife and was about to stab it into her innocent heart when the girl began to cry, saying, "Oh, dear huntsman, let me live. I will run into the wild woods and never come back." Because she was so beautiful, the huntsman took pity on her and said, "Run away, you poor child." He thought, "The wild animals will soon devour you anyway." But still, it was as if a stone had fallen from his heart, for he would not have to kill her. Just then, a young boar came running by. The huntsman killed it, cut out its lung and liver, and took them back to the queen as proof of Snow White's death. The cook had to boil them with salt, and the wicked woman ate them, supposing that she had eaten Snow White's lungs and liver. You are more than welcome to copy and paste your thinking for the gnat and the lion on this slide. You do not have to, but it is a nice way to keep you nice and organized. Now let's focus in on Snow White and the Queen. Again, I included some words that I thought of to describe Snow White. I would like you now to include at least 1 to 2 words or phrases that you would use to describe the Queen. Feel free to add any more to Snow White as well. Now that we compared and contrast our characters in both texts, let's focus in on the theme. I wrote down a theme for the gnat and the lion. It says, The weaker character, the Gnat, is prideful but ends up in trouble. I want to explain my thinking in why I wrote it like this. The weaker character means that in this case, the Gnat was the smallest. He's one that we knew had no chance against a lion. So in this case, he's the smaller, weaker character. I then added he was prideful because that's a trait I think we can all agree on. However, the ending took a twist because he does end up in trouble. So his pride doesn't lead him to a good outcome. Now I would like you to try thinking about a theme for Snow White Meets the Huntsman. I included some questions to help guide your thinking. Think about who is the weaker character in Snow White Meets the Huntsman. Again, who would be the one that is the most innocent or has no chance against a different character? Then think about how does that story or how does this story end for them? Does it end in a good way or does it end in a completely opposite way, just like it did for the Gnat? We were able to compare characters from two different texts as well as compare their themes. On Monday, we will be starting a brand new text. It is one of my favorites. Great job this week.